Thank you very much. As we wrap up 2023, we've been sitting down with various chief executive officers of various organizations just to find out of the year that was, how this year of 2023 they've managed to implement some of the changes in their organizations or not, what has been standing in their way and what is going right for them. Today, we are sitting down with Mr. Collins Letsoalo, who is the CEO of the Road Accident Fund. Mr. Letsoalo, thank you so much for making time to speak to us. It's been a very eventful 2023. I think in my career as a journalist, I don't think I've covered the Road Accident Fund the way I have this year. Let's start with maybe perhaps you summarizing 2023. From your view as a CEO, sitting behind this desk, everything that you have set out to plan or you set to plan in January, now it's December, have you been able to achieve those?
It has been an eventful year. Other things were not planned, but some that we planned, we have managed to achieve majority of them. We are quite comfortable that we are moving in the right direction, but I think the pace can be better. Mm-hmm. Yes.
You have had a lot of butting of heads with a couple of people. Chief among those, let's start with Scopa. During their oversight visit to, I think it was the Pretoria office of the Road Accident Fund, they came back and wrote a report that is publicly available that talks about things like fear in the organizations. And I think I have previously mentioned this to you in a media briefing. And you mentioned the issues about staff that probably did not want to work and that you reserve the right to discipline staff, etc. Take us through what your issue is with Scopa, because they seem to think that this organization can be run better.
Well, there's no issue with us and Scopa. I think they're doing their work. I mean, oversight is part of what they do. They get information from different people except us. And of course, I mean, it depends who they're going to believe. What we pride ourselves with is the fact that those that are responsible for ensuring that governance permeates across the organization and check for that is the Auditor General, who comes. We've got a methodology which is an objective methodology that is known all over. They audit using international audit standards. And we are quite comfortable that they have come, they've looked at our books, they've looked at the processes, they've looked at procedures, everything we do, including our compliance with legislation, and they agree that we are doing well. The Auditor General has since said that we have improved quite remarkably in this year. Our target of achieving the 100% has not been achieved, but we are sitting at 91.3% performance. And for us, it's important that we do that. And I think from a point of view of performance, from a point of view of running the organization in using the governance principles that we have, they have given us a thumbs up. So what we say to people is that if you don't believe us, then believe the AG, because the AG comes with a methodology and they check. And we have to open everything, our books, everything we do and decisions that we make as the RAF to the Auditor General.
I think it's this accounting standard or the methodology that you refer to that Scopa seems to have an issue with. And I refer to the interview that Mr. Mkhuleko Ahlengwa did with a Morning Live of the SABC, where he says that they don't believe in the methodology, the accounting methods that are being used, although they are used elsewhere in the world, but they're not. They don't agree with them because they seem to put remove things like your liabilities, and so you come across as a completely clean organization. If I'm quoting him correctly, and he says that we have told Mr. Letsoalo that he needs to go find an accounting standard that actually works for him. Have you engaged Scopa on this, and maybe educate us a little bit about this accounting practice?
Look, I think the role of Scopa is totally different from what seems to be what is being said now. The determination of an accounting policy of an organization depends on the accounting authority, which is the board. It has nothing to do with Scopa per se. It, in fact, does not have anything to do with the auditors. The auditors come and audit on the basis of an accounting policy you choose. So there are differences, of course, and I don't think that there is a reason why the RAF would like to hide a liability if there was such a liability. This is a phantom liability, and I'll tell you why we are saying it's a phantom liability. When we arrived, we were told that there is 320 billion, so about, of what is called an actuarial liability that the RAF has. We looked at it, and we realized that the biggest problem there was the accounting policy that the Road Accident Fund was using. It was using an accounting policy for insurance.
Okay.
The Road Accident Fund is not an insurer. Since 1996, when it was formulated, and I think as early as 1998, it has been declared a social benefit fund. If you look at the institutional sector classification issued by the Reserve Bank in 1998 already, listed it as a social benefit. What does that mean different from an insurer? You do not actually pay any, for you to be a claimant at Road Accident Fund.
You don't pay.
You do not pay anything. You don't pay anything. The R2.18 is paid by the driver of a vehicle once they pour in for their own indemnity. So that's the case. That's the first part. So the argument earlier was that once there is an accident, that is the liability of the RAF. Okay. But if you know the Road Accident Fund Act, you'll realize that Section 4 of the RAF Act puts certain conditions in terms of that. Section 17, Section 18, Section 19, Section 21, Section 24 have got exclusions. If we use the initial accounting policy, it means we take anything that is accident. And it's true that if you hit a tree today, God forbid, with your car, we do not pay for people that, if there's no wrongdoer that has done something wrong to you, we don't have to pay that person. So that's what we are being told we must account as. And indeed, we agree that in South Africa, there was no social benefit insurance, social benefit accounting policy, which is why we adopted the one that comes international, and that is allowed in terms of the GRAP standards and the framework that we use. So that's why we are quite confident about that. And you'd see, we have agreed with the Editor General on a lot of other things, but on this one, we think that they are wrong.
Because this obviously appears to be a very important issue, particularly for the health of the organization as well, financial health of the organization, what kind of policies do you think need to be amended for this to work in your favor and for it to be a social benefit organization or structure?
Well, we are a social benefit organization. I think what we must do is explain ourselves more and make people understand that, because as I say, since 1998, the classification in the institution has been that. And the issue has been that our predecessors agreed when they were told that, no, if you change this accounting policy, you will get an adverse opinion. They decided to move with the effect of doing away with the adverse opinion, but overstating the liability. What we are saying is that the liability is not overstated, as we are saying that for as long as there are certain exclusions that are in terms of the RAF Act, the Act says very clearly that we will compensate anyone in line with the provisions of the Act. So say 18 talks about limitations, 19 talks about exclusions. There are sections in the RAF Act that says once you get injured, it is not that RAF is liable. There are certain conditions that must be met. So when you account for it as if it's an insurance, you are saying once that happens, then we are accountable for that, and that's not correct. You
closed this year with how many claims that you believe are legitimate and you'll be able to meet?
Well, most of them, we want to meet 100% of them, of course, but I mean, the ones that are legitimate, we are trying to. Remember, we've got a backlog. But remember, you must balance that backlog with the amount of money that you have. So if we start paying in installment, it will be easy to settle all the 100%, including the backlog, because that will be easy to be able to do. So that's why we are saying this bill is going to help us put RAF in a better state. But as we are currently, this law, we are quite comfortable that we are able to pay. And like last year, we'll reduce this backlog by about 20% if we targeted ourselves to do.